Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, denizens of the world. It is Thursday. No, it's not Thursday, it's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, the 22nd of June, 2021. Mercury is stationary today, going direct very soon in its place of nativity, Gemini. So let's talk about, I guess we want to talk about the full moon in Capricorn, huh? But before we do that, I brought a little friend, Frogmeister, the third of his name, and I want to take a moment before we get into the reading and go into the astrology. I just want to have a moment of silence. A legacy. The legacy of our lives is what I would title the full moon in Capricorn. Where are we writing history? Our history now. Where are we engraving it now? So the full moon in Capricorn, happening on Thursday, day of Jupiter, the 24th, 2 days from now, is not an easy one. Not an easy full moon. However, it is a disciplinary full moon. A disciplinary full moon that whips us in place, back into where we need to wake up. We're getting out of our heads. And we're ready to stay laser focused on our lane and be a responsible driver, to be unbothered by the angry neighborly drivers on the highway of life. And we're just minding our business, acing the licensing test of the driving, the initiation phase that we're going through this summer. I feel like the full moon in Capricorn is really marking a new commitment. And that will involve a need, a strong need to change. How immature we've been in terms of our personal frustrations, our roadblocks that we think we can't overcome, but we definitely can if we shift, if we simply seize the next level of our personal evolution. So astrologically, with the Cancer Capricorn full moon axis, we also have Pluto opposing Venus. So Pluto in Capricorn is opposing Venus in Cancer. with Venus in Cancer and with the recent Mars transit that we had in Venus, there's been a lot of, immaturity around how we feel validated. And so often what happens with Venus in Cancer is there is a tendency for neediness, to seek approval from the people that are close, either family members, long-term relationships, people that feel like our secure zone, our security zone. They're not going to make us fulfilled at the time. So with Pluto really pulling the force away from the neediness that comes with Venus in Cancer, Pluto in Capricorn wants us to challenge where we're at, to move away from the comfort zone, because we are not gaining the self-respect that we need from our home space, even if the people that we're close to are well-meaning. At the end of the day, with Saturn in Aquarius, we're really tapping into really trying to preserve our identities by living by our personal truths, our individual experience. Saturn in Aquarius has been teaching us so far that we cannot get along with everyone. Although we can, we see dignity in other people and we can be open to conversation, at the end of the day, you're not always going to be in agreement, and other people aren't always going to get you because they have not lived your experience. And they might belittle you, or they might say, well, your problems are minor. What are you? You're complaining about nothing, right? So the Cancerian stuff that we had isn't really resolving the lack of powerlessness that we've felt over the month of May and April. So June has been a catalyst for our individual consciousness, and in turn that's been helping us recollect our personal power, maybe even create it in such a way that we haven't embodied it before ever in our lives. So for a lot of us, maybe we felt a lot of powerlessness because of obligations, right? With the Pluto and Capricorn aspect there's been guilt and shame and expectations and themes of powerlessness associated to obligations, responsibilities, that although we upkeep in good reason, they're at a point where they're not helping us feel empowered anymore. We need to outgrow them. We need to rebel against the hierarchy, I guess, in a certain way with Pluto and in Capricorn, right? I mean, governments are being challenged with the pandemic and with the global discontent with the quality of life on Earth. Uranus in Taurus, right? And with the Saturn Aquarius Uranus Taurus square that was earlier this month, these limitations, themes of personal and global limitations, have been amplified, and that's going to return again in December. But June is probably the most, with the full moon in Capricorn, there's been a lot of Saturnian energy going on, where that's being sort of instigated by the intensification of Pluto. So there's a need to break away, to sort of rebel against responsibilities and loyalties, either to relationships or career, loyalties that are sapping our sense of power and mastery over our own lives. And so we're really needing to listen to what we're being called to do with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, and Jupiter being in Pisces for a little bit of time before it goes back in Aquarius again for the rest of the year. It seems like there's an undeniable signal that is forcing us to get out of our comfort zone. So with the full moon in Capricorn, there's a need to uphold a commitment to ourselves, to our goals for the future, to the goals we want to set for our sense of personal achievement and maturity. It's going to help us propel us individually into maturity, although a lot of us are adults. Funnily enough, a lot of older people are immature. So I'm just going to take a minute to be silent. There's an individual walking by. I don't want to bother their introspective journey into this space, right? They've got music on, headphones, so they're doing what they're needing to do to keep themselves sane and empowered. So I think with Saturn in Aquarius and the full moon in Capricorn, and with a lot of the outer planets in the later signs, there's a need to separate ourselves for a little while more, for the rest of summer, before we can be coming back in a more prepared state to take on some really crucial responsibilities that are going to help us find our purpose in society and in our personal spaces, that are going to help us propel ourselves out of the old spaces that we've outlived, whether it be career or family environment. Again, the full moon in Capricorn is heralding a commitment to a courageous push into our own lane that is taking us out of everyone else where we feel we deserve to be. So you might argue that that's selfish, but the full moon in Capricorn, with the full moon in Capricorn, there's a need to be committed to the frustrations that you're feeling, that you're wanting to resolve. Do you want to continue that? Are you going to wait? Or are you going to do something about it? Because lunar energy in Capricorn is at a detriment. So there is a need for emotional honesty to happen, to not brush away your feelings and to continue to be dutiful to the same bullshit that you're tired of. No. We're being emotionally mature about how we're feeling and acting upon it. Because remember, Capricorn wants us to be productive and to make our mark in the world. So it doesn't want to delay. It wants to get things moving, right? Based on emotional triggers. So rather than staying indecisive, Mars in Cancer, when Mars is in Capricorn later in the year, we're really going to see a lot of progress in our efforts that are going to be starting over the summer. And I would even say that they've already started. Now we're just needing to take up speed. So we're going to pull the tarot now. A recent obstacle. So we have the Strength card, I believe, from the Afro-Brazilian Tarot, by the way. I got this the other day. I never thought I'd get a deck like that, but it's so cool. So, Strength coming out in reverse has been an obstacle. Leo stuff, right? So either we're kicking into gear. We're kicking into gear something that we need to master within ourselves. There's a need to seize our personal passions and to have a certain kind of control over that, to not let triggers ruin our passion, our devotion for what makes us excited and seem like we have our life together. With the Strength card reversed as an obstacle, as a recent obstacle, there's been a lot of triggers, lots of provocations, lots of elements around you that have been edging you into fury, and you don't want to get there. You're trying really hard to hold on to your humility and to your sense of internal stability, but there's been it's like the lava in the volcano that wants to be cleared, but it can't. It's boiling on the inside. It's like Mars and Cancer stuff right there. When Strength is reversed, we're not focused on what we want to focus because we're letting triggers get the best of us and they take us over. It's like if you were to look at a computer that was doing fine and operating normally, and then a virus came about and then it just stripped your functions away and you lost control over yourself and you didn't even bother to clean the virus, right? At that point, you were just letting yourself get taken away by the trigger. So the Strength card as an obstacle, I feel, has been absolutely difficult to manage. Now that Mars is in Leo, which will soon be paired with Venus in Leo soon, by the end of the month, we're really going to learn how to tame we're going to have better discipline around our yearnings for what makes us power up and wake up to the next level that we're seeking to achieve. So what are we working towards? What has been an effort in order to avoid catastrophic conflict that are absolutely needless? Okay, so a pair of cards is coming out here. So we have the Devil. The Devil with the Four of Cups. Capricorn and Cancer. Okay. So the effort has been to I feel as though with the Devil paired with the Four of Cups, there's almost an effort to, you're trying really hard to navigate through the circumstances that are limiting right now. There are limitations that you're trying to rebel from, but not to the point where you're letting yourself ruin everything. So I feel as though there are limitations for a lot of us that we can't get out of now. And although we like to say, break away, do all these things, manifest the life that you want, realistically, in life, there are phases in our own personal chapters that we just have to endure. However, with this Four of Cups, I feel like there's a need to be a little bit emotionally reserved from the things that are repeating as far as physical and tangible external limitations that we can't resolve and get out of right now. So there's a need to sort of keep yourself a little bit emotionally controlled. With the number four of Cups, there's a sense that, okay, work with what you've got, but you can still apply changes. So there's a need to, with the effort that we've been taking here, we're trying to find compromise. There's a need to not do things very carelessly and recklessly. We're being very careful and still being a part of our limitations that we still need to attend to. However, we're realizing that the way we've been upkeeping them has made us feel chained. So that perhaps there is a need to be a little bit less involved in the limitations, but to still keep them up for the time being. I think we're definitely fine-tuning what we're limited by. We're learning how to be less emotionally generous, I guess, of our presence within those constricting circumstances that we can't quite get out of right now, especially with the pandemic. You see a lot of gurus, a lot of people, reading astrology and tarot, and sometimes they give you this grandiose hope that is way far out of your reach. But perhaps what you need is just a remodulation from the inside world, and to not go for a drastic recourse that is leading into delusion. So a lot of people need to realize that in life, sometimes you really have to work with what you're dealing with, and that you can't necessarily take a complete departure. There is a matter of timing. And so the focus of the reading is the King of Pentacles in reverse, okay? Is to practice humility in who we are and where we're going, to not get way above our heads, to not do things recklessly, to be practical, and to also regain self-respect. Because with the King of Pentacles in reverse, there's a serious need around the full moon in Capricorn, earth stuff, to solidify our self-worth and our values and our system that we're living by. There's a need for structure. Structure that isn't constricting, though. Intuitive structure. Allow for it to be flexible so that you can navigate those limiting circumstances in a sensible way. Don't do everything by the book. Take the risk of doing things differently, depending on what you're dealing with right now in your current limitations. What danger are we running in if we don't adapt and listen to an intuitive sense of personal organization? The Ace of Swords reversed. If we don't allow ourselves to intelligently navigate our practical life, okay, to be a little bit more adaptable and flexible, then we're gonna, if we constrict ourselves into the same pattern of an overly fixed schedule, and if we're trying too hard, if we force too hardly and drastically against our limitations right now, we run into the danger of adding back in the stress and the anxiety that we have tried to seriously get a hold of and sort during the Gemini solar eclipse. But if you do allow yourself to be a little bit more emotionally reserved and to know when to take that step forward at the perfect time. Timing is going to be really important. If you do happen to do what you're intuitively being called to take control of in your life, sorry, there's a fly, then you have complete control over you have a, how do I say, if you intuitively organize yourself and navigate your limitations in a very sensible way, then the blessing is a wise sense of mastery with the Magician card. So we go from a reversed ace to lots of mercurial stuff. It has to do a lot with the mind. For the month of June, if you let your mind feel like it's shackling you back into the same overabundant feelings of restriction, chances are you're not listening to when the mind is telling you to perhaps go do that when you're getting that nudge. And so then you're not moving anymore. But if you do move at the right time and don't force it, right? King of Pentacles reversed as our focus card is saying, don't be too stubborn. Don't repeat the same cycle. Don't be overly generous with your time. Make an effort to ambulance sounds. Let the noise happen. let the noise in the background, however people are reacting, let that happen. Don't try to force them to change their behavior, because it's not going to work. And the Capricorn full moon wants you to master your own sense of maturity by not imposing your maturity on other people. Okay? You can outwardly express a little bit of dissatisfaction and disappointment if it's happening in a natural way, but don't give people a lecture, okay? Don't do that. Don't go out of your way to let other people know that you're tired of the same old shit, you're going to be wasting your time. And it's going to end up turning into a conflict where it's going to be a blame game. They're going to play the Uno card. No, you did that. No, you did this, but this is like that because you did this. Or we live this way because you haven't done this. So rather than keeping yourself confused because of endless arguments, again, there's a need for emotional humility to take place so that you can revive your sense of passion within your own life, to not get carried away by the lack of accountability and responsibilities of other people during the full moon in Capricorn, so that you can gain mastery over your own self and mind. Okay? And to not be too fixated with the King of Pentacles in reverse, not too fixated on the past right now, because we're evolving consciously, very strongly. So what's going to be an underlying element, an underlying key in trying to get a hold of our identity and preserving ourselves in a very intelligent way, in a strategic way, I would even say, with Saturn and Aquarius, there's a need for reservation, social reservation, either with close people or strangers, whoever it is. There's a need to maintain your mind in order so that you're not emotionally turbulent. Full moon in Capricorn. So the key, I'm not even sure. I think this is the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords reversed, if I'm correct. Let me just check. I'm not familiar with this deck yet, and there's a fly bothering me. I'm not going to be bothered by that too heavily. Yeah, I got the deck yesterday ago, so Knight, where is the page? Knight, King. I think it's actually the Queen, but I'm just double checking to see. Looking for that's the Queen of Wands, I think. I'm not finding the page. Where are the pages? Hello? Dum da dum 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 dum. You know what? I'm not even going to break my head over it. So the Queen of Swords reversed. Interesting as our underlying card, okay? Because we're reconditioning our minds by learning how to be reserved and to practice self-respect through the limitations that we're currently needing to attend to. We're also learning how to be less skeptical, to learn how to trust people with the Queen of Swords reversed. Because remember, when it's upright, we're being a lot more discerning with who we're letting in. And sometimes that can make life a little bit less enjoyable because we're always seeing everyone as a suspicious enemy. But with the Queen of Swords reversed, we're needing to be receptive of new ideas and opinions from new sources. There's a need to be less argumentative with the Queen of Swords reversed, to not be combative in social interactions. And it's going to happen through this process over the next week and a half of knowing your boundaries, but not overexerting them on other people. To learn how to navigate in a sensible way so that you're not overthinking situations. Because chances are, if you're being overly controlling over your own life and trying to manage your life by trying to control what other people are doing within your limitations, it's not going to work. You're going to run into more conflict. So it's better to, again, like I've said before, work with your obligations, right? A lot of people demonize the devil card. However, life is not always about freedom, okay? Sometimes you gain your freedom through restriction, through dealing with your obligations. You just learn how to dedicate less of your time, energy, and being an investment of spirit. Not of your resources necessarily, but of yourself. And so then we plague ourselves with so many worries and doubts and anxieties that are not even as associated to us at that point. So we're rewiring for learning how to preserve our being. But we're not going for a drastic measure, especially when we're at a time where things are very uncertain. We can take risks in terms of how we need to change as an individual and what we need to change in our in our patterns. But there's a need to be mature and methodical about how we're going to go for our goal. To be anchored in our reality, but to maintain the long-term fantasy that we're trying to get closer to. With Neptune and Pisces and Jupiter there, you know, we have to maintain our hope for these rose-colored visions that we've had for years. But now it's time to have a little bit more control over our own reality, okay? But to not be deluded all the while. So I think I'm rambling too much right now, so it's better if I just jump into our Oracle card. And there's a spider walking by my set of tarot. So weave your web. Carefully continue to weave the web of your future, okay? Be like the spider that isn't trying to bother anyone, that is just minding their own business and is passing by sort of unnoticed. You know, people see a spider here and there, but a spider isn't trying to look for danger, okay? It doesn't want to intrude or bother anyone. It's just doing its own thing, so do your own thing. And if people are scared or they don't like who you are becoming, not your business, not your problem. Starfish. So starfish wants you, with the starfish as our oracle card, there is a need to build a sense of recognition, whether personal or worldly, professional, otherwise. A lot of us have been wanting to feel valued. And the way to go about it is to be behind the scenes. And when I say that, I mean be humble. Be humble in your behavior in terms of how you're going about your goals. Don't impose on other people. Don't expend so much of yourself. But do what comes very naturally. What allows you to feel like you're moving without you needing to take the effort to move. It's almost as if we're putting in an effort in an effortless way. We're being swept away by the sands of the ocean. And letting things happen at their natural pace. With Starfish as our oracle card, we need to be emotionally absorbed in where we're wanting to navigate and to not force the movement of progression. With a lot of these cards reversed, right, with the King of Pentacles as our central card reversed, the Queen of Swords reversed, Strength reversed, there's a need to not be forceful, to not be over the top. And although Mars is in Leo and Venus will be there soon, I think that paradoxically we're needing to reel in that ego that wants to rebel in an immature way. We don't want to ruin things. And so it's better if we work with the current limitations and simply adjust ourselves in how we react to what we're currently limited by. And so I think that a lot of people forget that we're not always going to be limited by the same restrictions. Life is not always going to be fixed. Things die, things are created, and we all die at the end of the day. So, we're not going to be restricted by the boundaries of time and space when we pass away. We're going to have that ultimate freedom. And we're not going to be holding on to possessions, our status, how people see us, all of that we're releasing. And so with that notion, there is a need to release the force that we're adding onto the searing wound that we need to let heal on its own. There's an element of tenderness needing to happen. Tenderness around your actions and your reactions. To be sensible and unbothered. To preserve your own well-being. Okay. Allow yourself to preserve the oasis in your mind that you see within a tumultuous desert. Okay, if you're only observing what's going on in the outside world, you're only going to lose control of your own self. You don't want to go insane. And if people think you're insane for believing that things are going to improve, or if they're constantly doing the opposite of what you're doing, then don't release yourself. Don't freely give what you should protect for yourself so that you can stay alive. So look after yourself first on an internal level, okay? Learn how to have the self-respect to nourish your healing feelings, your hopeful visions. They're yours, and they're no one else's to understand. So I'm going to leave it at that. And be mature. Be mature about your current situation. Preserve your emotional well and expend it into the space that you see an investment in, where you see not only your external environment grow, but yourself. If you see yourself grow individually from how you share of yourself and in what manner and intensity, then you're going to learn how to have much more expertise and understanding of who you are as an intrinsic being on Earth. And that's for no one else to understand. So I'll leave it at that. And I hope you guys, hey guys, don't forget to like it. No, I'm not going to do that. Thank you for being here. So if you haven't already, you can subscribe, stay tuned for more videos like these. There's going to be a few links in the description for you to look. But otherwise, that's going to be it. And I'm just going to go ahead and enjoy a little bit more of the green home that's around me right now, where I feel very much at home. So until then, take it easy. Goodbye.